Hi there, Happy New Year and welcome to the January edition of the England Golf Podcast with me, Ian McFarlane. England Golf is the governing body for the amateur game in this country, and our podcast will bring you insight from the club and amateur scene. We'll bring you news and views from key officials, elite players, our championships and performance teams, and other members of the England Golf community. We've said goodbye to the troubles of 2020, but still face fresh challenges going into the new year. Hopefully the ongoing rollout of the coronavirus vaccine will, quite literally, provide us all with the shot in the arm we need to come out the other side of this pandemic. In the meantime, there's work to be done to help clubs and golfers deal with the difficulties of yet another national lockdown, and importantly, things to look forward to later in the season. Coming up on the podcast, we hear from Jeremy Tomlinson, Chief Executive of England Golf, on the latest lockdown measures to hit the game, the conversations that remain ongoing with government, and why golf should be seen as part of the solution to a public health crisis and not part of the problem. As we eye better times ahead in the spring and summer, we're joined by Hembrough and Annabell Fuller to get their perspective on an exciting season ahead for the women's game, with 8 English women, including Annabell, in contention for Curtis Cup places. And we also hear from England international Jake Bolton, one of 10 Englishmen in the running for a place in the Walker Cup side to take on the USA in Florida in May. We'll round up the latest news from around England Golf and also chat with Director of Championships James Crampton on the 2021 events his team will run, not just for the elite amateurs but the ordinary club golfers too. To tee things off, we're joined by Jeremy Tomlinson, the Chief Executive of England Golf. Jeremy, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Pleasure to be here, Ian, as always.
Now, there's only one place to start, and that's with the news on the 4th of January from the UK government that England was going into alert level 5, and with it, another national lockdown. Now, following on from that came the instruction from government, Jeremy, that courses must close with immediate effect. Can I start by asking your reaction to this when you first heard the news of the latest lockdown and the implications for golf?
Absolutely. Well, Ian, to be fair, I just felt like I'm sure anybody else did up and down the country. And that was, oh my gosh, is this the way the year is starting out? And I suppose it was disappointment, huge disappointment and concern, but also at the same time, the way that the news had been going, we were expecting, obviously, we'd been hearing that the pandemic was getting out of hand. So we then had to switch priorities. So obviously my thoughts were very much towards listening and trying to adhere to what the government wanted. Obviously the priorities of people's health up and down the country, protecting our NHS, and then of course prioritizing the vaccine rollout, which is the light at the end of the tunnel for all of us. With regards to golf, it was hugely disappointing. On a couple of levels, it was hugely disappointing because we thought we were going to be classed again in the similar way to walking, running, and cycling, and we also had been promised that we would be spoken to in the lead up to any further lockdown. So that was a shame. But obviously, our priorities lay with regards to the adherence to the guidance and respecting the decisions that the government had made.
Absolutely. Now, throughout the pandemic from last March, England Golf has been a leading industry figure in championing golf's cause with government. Can you perhaps just give us some detail of the work that was going on in the background prior to lockdown, and also what has happened since the announcement of closures on the 4th of January?
Of course. The work has never really stopped. It hasn't stopped, whether it be from March the 23rd last year when we went into our first lockdown. We've continually been working with government, continually been talking with them, whether it be direct with Nigel Huddleston, the Minister for Sport, or with DCMS, with regards to, again, this how golf is viewed, how golf is classified. It's not this elitist sport. It is a sport that is there for everybody to be enjoyed, no matter what your sex, your ethnicity, or your age or ability. And we were really trying to get across as well that it was part of it can be classed as a great exercise, as well as a great sport. So that was what we've been doing. That's what we've been spending hours trying to persuade government and to try to help them understand about. We've worked not only direct with them, but also, of course, with all of our colleagues across the different associations, within the parliamentary group with Craig Tracy, who heads that up. So that's really where our work has been. And we really did think that we had got there after the second lockdown in November. but it appears that we haven't. So there's still work to do, and we're still now going to be, of course, we're moving on, and it's a question of working with government to try to find the safest point upon which we can bring back a successful return to playing golf. That's our priority now.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you perhaps give us a flavour of the message that you're carrying to government when you have these conversations?
Yes. Well, of course, everybody has seen up and down the country that we have seen walkers walking across golf courses or cyclists perhaps riding through golf courses. And they're doing that, off their own volition in an unregulated way. And we're simply saying, if that is able to take place, why aren't we able to play golf in a regulated fashion, in a COVID-safe way? We have continually shown throughout each time when we have been able to, when life has returned to some sort of normality, that golf can be played in a safe way. There is no evidence showing any spread of COVID through playing golf or at golf clubs. So that's really the message that we've been putting across, and again, trying to help it be reclassified more in line with walking, cycling, and running. So that's the message that we're really trying to put across. Also, from a mental and physical well-being perspective, we can't get away from the fact that as much as we have the priorities of protecting health, protecting the health service, and the rollout of the vaccine, we can't have mental health as being a taboo subject. And everybody has to be able to get through this lockdown in the best possible way, and a way that helps them adhere to the guidance, which in turn, of course, helps keep everybody safe and protects the health service. So again, we're trying to bring that to the fore, but being respectful of government, of course. And as I say now, just trying to make sure that we can bring a return to playing golf back as soon as it's safely possible.
Well, Jeremy, let's hope that golf can be back safely at the earliest opportunity. As you say, the game can be such a positive force at this time for people who are perhaps growing fatigued with the lockdown restrictions and anxious about so many other aspects of their daily life. Jeremy, thanks again for your time and your candid comments as always.
Thank you, Ian.
It promises to be an exciting year for the women's amateur game in 2021, with the postponed Curtis Cup due to take place at Conway Golf Club in Wales in August. Before that, in June, the Valliano Trophy will take place in Switzerland, with GB&I women taking on the best of continental Europe. Joining us now to discuss the prospects for the 2021 season, COVID permitting of course, and the involvement of England players in some of the most exciting moments of the amateur golfing year, is Becca Hembrough, Performance Manager for Women's Golf here at England Golf, and England international Annabell Fuller, currently studying at the University of Florida. Welcome to the podcast, Becca. Good to have you.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, it's great to be here. Great to be here alongside Annabell. We've got an exciting year coming up.
And Annabell, you two are most welcome, but only if you don't mention the fact that you're in Florida at the moment, where you can play golf and where you can enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah, I won't mention that, don't worry.
Okay, glad we got that sorted right at the beginning. Now, Becca, if I can turn to you first, 2020 ended with the fantastic news that 8 of the 17 women, including Annabell, of course, selected for the initial Curtis Cup and Valliano Trophy events were English. Given your role within England Golf, that must have been extremely pleasing to hear the news when it came through.
As a performance team, we're all really excited by the number of England women included. It's definitely indicative of all the hard work that's going on by the players, their home teams, and by the England Golf programme. Getting into a GB&I team is one of the pinnacles for any amateur player, and because of the reduced tournaments that we saw in 2020, I believe that those team places are there to be competed for. It's going to be super competitive, and we're really looking forward to supporting the English women.
And of course, Annabell is one of the shining lights of the women's amateur game, not just in England and Europe, but in world terms as well. Annabell is a member at Roehampton Golf Club in Surrey when she's back in this country. And it's no real surprise that she's been included. And if you allow me to take a deep breath, I'll try and run through Annabell's achievements from the last couple of seasons just to highlight why she's part of this Curtis Cup squad. Okay, here goes. Currently 52nd in the World Amateur Golf Rankings, the 2020 English Women's Open Amateur Stroke Play Champion after her exploits at Burnham and Barrow last summer. second in the Women's Amateur Championship run by the R&A at West Lancashire Golf Club up there in England's Gulf Coast. Another 15 top 10s in our last 29 counting events. The winner of the 2019 Major Champions Invitational with 3 rounds in the 60s. A member of the 2018 Curtis Cup team at Quaker Ridge when she was only 16. A member of the 2019 Junior Solheim Cup team at Glen Eagles. She's represented England at the last 2 European Team Championships, and last summer also competed in the Rose Ladies Series at Moor Park. Now, if I go and lie down and just recover from running through your CV, Annabell, that's quite a CV for somebody nearing the end of their career rather than somebody who's 18. When I rhyme off that list of achievements, how does that make you feel when you think back on your progress and development in the last 2 years?
I'm pretty proud of what I've done and what I've achieved, because I've worked hard the last couple of years to try and get to the best I can be. And obviously when I hear that, and just instead of being happy with what I've done, it makes me want to do more. And this summer when I came second at the British Am, now I'm going to go and try and get that first place next time.
Now it's interesting to try and plot your route, I think, to where you came from to where you are now. Can we just take you right back to the beginning? When did you first pick up a golf club, and why did you pick up a golf club in the first place?
So I started when I was 3, because my older sister played. She was a really, really good junior, and I always looked up to her. So I kind of copied what she did and thought it was awesome what she was doing. So I did the same thing. And then I played my first flag competition when I was 5. And from there, I guess I just loved the game and kept playing. And then was in the England under-16 regional squad, I think, when I was 11 or 12, and started playing in the England events and kind of started from there. And I kept playing, kept getting better, kept enjoying it more, and now I guess here we are.
What did it feel like as an 11-year-old playing under-16 events? Were you always quite confident in your ability, or do you remember being quite shy and nervous turning up to that first regional coaching session or a national coaching session?
Yeah, I remember I guess I just was so happy to be there, and I really enjoyed playing golf rather than kind of thinking about the prospect of being really, really good or playing in tournaments. I just did it because I enjoyed it and had fun.
Were you nervous at all? Were you worried going into these things, or were you quite confident in yourself?
I think I wasn't too worried. I knew the girls were older than me, but I was around my sister who was older than me, so I was kind of used to being in that kind of age group, and I just thought it was so much fun to kind of see how they act and look up to them and kind of grow up a little bit.
Now we should mention Sammy at this point, because she's the sister that you're refusing to name check at this point. But just how much of a spur was that for you growing up, having an older sibling who was clearly very good at golf herself and perhaps blazing a trail for you to follow?
Honestly, I think it was one of the best parts of being able to grow up and play with her, because I think I'm extremely lucky that I was able to practice with someone, and when I wasn't feeling like practicing so much, she would push me to practice more and vice versa, and then we could play together and do matches, which I think is a big thing in golf, because it's such an individual sport where you play alone. To kind of be able to practice with someone and have someone to push you to get better is, you can't take that away.
Somebody who obviously inspired you, but she's your sister. You're going to have fallouts. There's going to be competition. Was that the case? Were you keen competitors even from an early age?
For sure. I always wanted her to do really good in tournaments as long as I was one shot better. So
quite right too. And does that rivalry extend right through to today? She's obviously at college in America as well, but, does that rivalry still exist when you go out for a friendly game, if we can call it that?
Yeah, of course there'll always be a bit of rivalry there, but I want her to do the best that she can possibly do, and I think she's the same with me. But so I think we support each other equally, but at the same time, if I want to be the best, I've still got to be better than her.
I'm sure that's something that you would wholeheartedly endorse, Becca, isn't it? When you hear rivalry like that, it just encourages both halves to go on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really important, to have that committee. Sammy and Annabell have been so lucky because they've just pushed each other on. I first met Annabell at Windlesham Golf Club. I think it was in the boardroom there, and it was the South Regional squad. And you could see right then and there, she clearly thought a huge amount of her sister, and that was when you were probably 12 or 13, Annabell. And there was definitely a sparkle in her eye about, catching big sister up. And I think you've both, been fortunate to have each other on that journey together, for sure.
What was the first thing that struck you about Annabell, Becca, when you saw her? What about her game?
I remember sitting in that boardroom, and Alex Sari was the coach. He's still the South Regional coach now, and he was doing a presentation, and I think there was like a nutrition type session going on, and talking about like snacks on the golf course. And the thing that struck me with Annabell was that she was very confident within that group, even though she was, 12 or 13, definitely sparky, wanting to learn, but also understand like the why as well, really inquisitive. And that's what really struck me. I think at that time you kind of gone through quite a growth spurt, Annabell, and you were like massively into other sports as well, and doing other things as well. So it struck me that Annabell was a really well-rounded like young woman, until like the golf bug really bit her, over the sort of the next couple of years.
You were obviously a part of the England setup, and still are a part of the England setup, Annabell. When you first came into it, what would you say that the England coaching and the England setup helped you most with in your game? Or perhaps it wasn't necessarily on the technical side, maybe it was the mental, or the as Becca touched on there, the kind of nutritionist side, or the strength and conditioning. What was the biggest difference for you when you joined that England setup?
I think, so when I was younger, I kind of thought every sport I did for fun, and it was a game, and, you practice and you get better, and you play tournaments. As soon as you're like in the England setup, you get the performance side, and they kind of show you how, this is, I remember it was like the England pathway to success. And I remember seeing that, and it starts like you start in the regional squads and you work up and you go to like each different age group, and then you can kind of turn pro after. And I kind of seeing that, it gave me the idea is, okay, you know what, this isn't just a sport I play for fun. This is something I want to pursue. And then being around Becca and being around like all the England coaches, I think it kind of showed me that, okay, wow, like I can really have a team to support me to actually achieve something like this and be able to get a goal and kind of reach this dream of turning pro.
Was there a eureka moment? Was there one moment where you thought, actually, this is where I turn from being somebody who enjoys playing golf to somebody who wants a career in golf?
I think, honestly, I remember when I played the Henry Cooper, the year that I won it, and we played for the England squad. I can't remember what that kind of medal is called, and I remember playing and walking up the 18th hole, and then so I won it in the end. And I just remember thinking, I love this feeling, is amazing. Like, I'm representing England. I've just picked up the trophy for first place. My family was there to watch me finish. And I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Now, the whole point of this conversation is because the Curtis Cup is coming up in 2021. It was postponed, obviously, last year for the obvious reasons. But you're something of a veteran at this Curtis Cup malarkey. 16-year-old and in the squad in 2018, and then obviously playing in the matches. Can you talk us through what that was like at that point in your career? So young, but yet playing in such a prestigious event.
It was such an amazing experience. We went there a week before, and we were practicing as a team together, playing these unbelievable golf courses. And I think I remember playing the first practice round at Quaker Ridge with Alice, who's turned pro now. And
that's Alice Hewson.
Mm-hmm. And I remember playing with her, and when I was younger, I always remember watching her play with Sammy and thinking, wow, she's so good. And then I was playing with her in the same team, and then I ended up playing the 4-ball better ball with her, I think, and it was such an amazing experience, and to see how fiery she was as well kind of really spurred me on, and it was such an awesome experience to learn from.
Now, you're in the preliminary squad for the Curtis Cup this year. Hopefully you make the full squad, and I've no doubt you will. What have you learned from 2018 that could stand you in good stead should you be selected this year?
I think it was to kind of compare us to the American squad. They were really good in the clutch moments, and not to say that we weren't, but they picked up the shots quickly on the beginning, and they held their lead towards the end, and they didn't let us take any shots back. And I think kind of going into the next Curtis Cup, obviously, if I make the team, I think it would be really good to kind of kickstart our team to get a good start so we don't fall behind on the beginning.
If I can take you forward a year from 2018 up to Gleneagles for the Junior Solheim Cup, and you obviously stayed around for a bit of the competition as well in the main event. I remember talking to Lily May Humphreys about that, and she was beside Bronte Law on the 17th green when Bronte won her singles match on the Sunday, which kind of tipped things back in Europe's favour. Was there things that you observed that week as well that, just as a spectator, if you like, that again can help you in your career?
I thought kind of when I watched them, they don't hit every shot perfectly. They don't hit everything 10 foot away from the pin. They do make mistakes, but the mistakes they make, so if they miss a green, they miss it in the kind of correct spot. Or like if they do end up missing the green, they go up and down, or they do the best recovery possible, and they aren't throwing away any shots, and they roll their balls like really nicely on the putting green. And especially I think in match play, that's super important to kind of put pressure on other people, like by holding the putts. And if you're missing them, it lets the other person relax a little bit more. So I think kind of to watch them play, it was really good to kind of see their game plan, not as well as just them hitting it really, really good.
Becca, from your point of view, having Annabell, Lily May Humphreys and Mimi Rhodes at that Junior Solheim Cup, that must help you in your job when they come back to England setups and you're trying to coach them and teach them things. The fact that they have been able to experience events like that with huge crowds and watch people at the peak of their powers, and how they can then translate that into their own game.
Yeah, without a doubt. To play a Junior Solheim, but then to be, standing next to shoulder with the particularly with the number of English players we had in that team as well, was just a priceless opportunity for Annabell, for Lily, for Mimi to see, where their game is at that highest level, and compare it to where the likes of Bronte and Georgia are playing at. Just fabulous, and the manner of which they conducted themselves that week, and their own performances, they did England golf proud.
And Annabell, just going forward again, you're obviously at college in the States just now, which is a huge opportunity, not just for somebody who's hoping to major in golf, but just in your own personal development and your own life skills. What's that brought to you as an individual and as a golfer? Going forward, just the move to America and all that encompasses?
I think moving here, I go from living with my parents and them doing everything for me to now I'm by myself, and I'm making myself my breakfast, lunch and dinner and cooking my food, and I've got to do all my washing. I've got to do all the kind of adulting things that, like paying for my car and all the kind of lists that I used to, when I was at home, just go, Dad, here, can you do this for me, please? So I think kind of to become so much more independent, and I know that, okay, well, I could lie in bed all day, or I could go to the golf course and practice. And I think to kind of motivate myself to kind of practice and take control and really make the best out of this experience and kind of opportunity that I've got given with two top coaches here, I think it's such an amazing experience for me.
Now, 2020 for most people, Annabell, was a really disruptive year for the reasons that we all know. But in terms of your career, it was spectacular in some senses. The victory we talked about at Burnham and Barrow, which was terrific to see, and also your run at West Lancs to get to the final. Just how proud are you of what you did last year? But also, as you touched on there, you finished second in the amateur at West Lancs. And how much does that niggle you still that you didn't quite do that? I mean, it was a terrific year, but do little things like that just spur you on even more in the future?
For sure, to know that I had that putt to kind of take it to an extra hole and I left it an inch short in front of the hole. it's still like an annoyance that's there, but it gives me that kind of extra motivation that I'm going to go out there, I'm going to practice and make sure that I can win it before the 18th hole, so I don't have to hold that putt to get to the take it onwards. But I think like last year, I kind of had the mindset throughout the whole kind of lockdown period in England, kind of, you know what, I'm going to use this time to better myself, and I have plenty of time extra. There's not tournaments where I'm travelling to back and forth. And with the golf season, it's pretty much all year round, and you don't really get a block of time to just kind of work on your game and improve yourself. So I think I really kind of used that to be able to kind of take that time and just really work on myself and better myself.
From your point of view, Becca, last year was disruptive, but there were a number of good performances from the women's and the girls' squads last year. I mean, just how far have things come in the last few years in terms of women and girls golf in England, and just what kind of state is the game in at the moment as we look forward?
When we went to Woodall Spa for the English Amateur last year, and it was brilliant to share that platform with the men's event, and myself, Steve Robinson, the women's coach, my colleague Jenny Henderson, and Mark Day were there. We had the privilege of walking around and watching it, and it was one of the first tournaments that I've been really blown away with the sort of depth of quality golf across the field. It was just really exciting. Not only was it the first tournament back, but it really showcased the growing level of quality golfers and quality young women that we've got in this country. And it's certainly, you know, I've been in the role just over 8 years now, and from where it was when I first started, you know, there's more and more women coming through, and you know, you look at Annabell, and she's still 18, and yeah, she you know, didn't quite get the amateur last year, but she's still 18, and you know, she's in full-time education, and you know, she's going to be around as an amateur for you know, 2 or 3 years, you know, and there's so much more for her to, you know, to shoot for, and that's just really exciting. We've got more players that are sort of pushing world ranking. You know, I would love to see lots of English players in that Curtis Cup team this year, because I think it would be representative of where we are, and players like Annabell are pushing everyone else. You know, everyone else is chasing the likes of Annabell, and she's driving. You know, these younger players that sat in the regional programs at the moment, they're looking to her now to really aspire towards, and that's brilliant. That's exactly what we want in a women and girls program. Women and young girls need to see others in that spotlight doing great things.
Do you find that as well, Annabell, whenever you've been at England gatherings, that while you're all part of a same team, there is still real competition between you? You all want to be top dog, you all want to be number one, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, although like it's great to be in a team, and I have the same thing here at school, like you want your teammates to do well, and at the end of the day though, it's an individual sport, and it's up to you how you do as yourself. And if you want to be the best, you've got to win, and you're not going to win with 8 other people tied with you, and there's only one winner. So absolutely, that's the attitude you have to have, Becca, isn't it? You have to want to be the best, even if you're part of a team.
Yeah, definitely. We have the challenge of we working in a, you know, we're supporting players that are in an individual sport, and we are, you know, developing individuals to play in, you know, teams coming together in the European Team Championships, coming together in the Worlds every couple of years, coming together in a Curtis Cup of Agliano. And yeah, you want that rivalry. I think what the teams within England have is a level of respect for one another. And that's brilliant. That's what we need. You know, we don't need everyone to get on with each other, but we need each other to sort of challenge and respect one another. And yeah, we're really excited for the future in terms of Europeans, Worlds. You know, we've got an ambition out there to win a World Championships, and you know, we need players like Annabell, you know, driving that ambition forward.
Annabell, if we can just round up by asking you what your ambitions are for 2021. There's clearly lots on the go. We've touched on it earlier, Curtis Cup being being one of them, and hopefully if you're back in England in the summer to play team events for England as well. What are your major goals for the season ahead?
I think obviously making the Curtis Cup team is a big thing, but I think it's getting the stepping stones to get there, kind of like get top 10 finishes, get top 5 finishes. I'd absolutely love to win another event, a college event or an event back home as well. I think kind of it's such a huge motivation kind of booster as well when you kind of get that satisfaction of you've worked hard and now here's the results. And obviously if that's not the case, that's the way that golf is, but to kind of play as good as I can, work hard, and then tick off a couple goals this year. Be good.
That's terrific, Annabell. Listen, we don't want to keep you away from that Floridian sunshine for too long. We want you to get out there and keep practicing and enjoy a great 2021. Thank you for your time, Becca. Thank you also for your time, a valuable insight into what's going on in women and girls golf with England Golf, with Annabell being one of the pupils, if you like, that's come through from a very early age to this point just now. And we wish you all the best for the coming season, Annabell, and look forward to following your exploits here at England Golf. I'm delighted to say that we're now joined by Jake Bolton, one of the rising stars of the game in this country and a man approaching his third year as an England Golf men's squad player. Now, Jake is one of 10 Englishmen named in Coach Stuart Wilson's initial GB&I squad for the Walker Cup match taking place against the USA in Florida in May. That's a huge reward for the 22-year-old from Wiltshire, who is one of the hardest working players in the country, as well as one of the most talented. And he didn't pay me to say that. Jake, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Ian.
Now tell us about this inclusion in the squad. That was a nice pre-Christmas present for you. One of 10 Englishmen, as I said, involved in the squads. Can you just tell us your emotions when you got the call, or how you found out?
Well, I was in South Africa, and I just finished playing at the Alfred Dunhill Championship on the European Tour, and I just checked my phone, as you do after you finish a round. And I had an email from Ewan Mordaunt at the RNA, and there was a letter saying I was in the 15-man squad. So, obviously very excited, and it was a nice present before Christmas, and hopefully push for that final 10.
Now, I mentioned the fact that you'd obviously been hoping to be involved in Walker Cup. Any time I've spoken to you in the past, it's always been a goal. Did you feel that you did enough in 2020 to merit that place, or were you a little bit on edge when you knew the call was coming?
It's always hard to say. Like I guess you can only control what you can control, really, and you can keep doing is working hard, and hope that you perform well, and the rest will take care of itself. So hopefully I did do enough, and I've got a fairly nice match play record over the last sort of 18 months, and hopefully that that squeezes me into the team. But hopefully, as I said, I can start the year well and make my case stronger.
Now, as I said, it's obviously a lot of hard work to get you to this point. Can you just talk us through how you started out in golf, when you first got the bug, and when you really started thinking seriously about perhaps having a good amateur career and then taking it on to professional level?
It was basically down to my dad, really. He's always been an avid golfer since probably mid-30s, since he gave up football, and he just thought he'd give me a golf club. I was probably the age of 7. He got it cut down, and just took me around to a field around the back of a house, and I just clipped a few away. And from then, he noticed that there was something there, and I had a couple of lessons to start with, and everything just came naturally, I guess. And following on from the bit where I started taking it seriously from, I reckon, about 12 or 13 years old, probably, and just rose through the ranks, really, through club level, county level, and then eventually national and Great Britain and Ireland.
Now, some people are involved from a very early age in the England golf player pathway, maybe from the age of 11 or 12, and take it on from there. But you were perhaps a late bloomer, a late developer in that sense, and you only came into the pathway really when you joined the national squad. Is it fair to say that you were a late developer?
Yeah, for sure. Even from early teens, I kind of knew that I had some kind of talent to make it, even at top amateur level, and I was never included in regional squads because I was never good enough. That's just a brutal truth of it. I was never good enough at 13 or 14 years old, like some of the kids are nowadays. But as I said, going back to hard work, if you work hard, the rewards do come eventually. So, and here I am today in the 15-man GB&I Walker Cup squad.
Absolutely. Now, when you first joined up with England and came to Woodall Spa for those national squads, did you immediately feel part of it, or is it quite a nerve-wracking, daunting experience when you turn up for your first national coaching lesson?
Not really. I was probably more nervous waiting on the call to tell me I was part of the squad. And then once I got that call, it's always a goal to play for England and be part of a squad of all the best players in the country. So, I just kind of took it in my stride, really, and, it's a great opportunity to be part of it all.
What would you say has been the biggest help to your career involved in the training with England? What's really worked for you? What's sharpened your game or taken it to the level where you are now very much a contender for that final Walker Cup squad?
I just think being smarter, whether that be through practice and what you do on a daily basis. I just think my general work that I do nowadays is more efficient. It's not all about spending countless hours on the range anymore. If you do the right work and you spend the right time on the right things, the rewards come faster than, as I said, spending 6, 7, 8 hours on driving range just hitting balls into an open field.
Is there one aspect of your game that's really kicked on in the last couple of years, would you say?
Over the last 12 months, I would say my short game's come on the most. I would say the rest of my game's normally pretty solid. I'd like to improve my driving a little bit going into next year. That took a little toll on itself this year. I think that was due to the amount of time I spent on my short game. I think short game, I'll give it to short game for the most improved part.
Now, as part of the pathway with England, you've also had opportunities to travel abroad, be part of squads. Last January, February time, you were down in South Africa, enjoying things. I particularly liked your posts from near Crocodile River, all the kind of wildlife that was round about Leopard Creek and things you were sending back for the England Golf Instagram account. Can you talk us through those experiences, just how good it is being away with England and playing in these international events?
Yeah, the experience is invaluable. That's the simplest way I can put it, really. You don't get them opportunities very often, especially as an amateur. I think you just got to take the opportunity and grab it with both hands, and you just got to enjoy it. It's a new experience. Some players may not have even played abroad, you've got to learn to adapt to different conditions, and I think that's part of being a top level professional golfer nowadays.
Now, probably your biggest breakthrough so far was when you won the Scottish Amateur Stroke Play back in 2019 at the Duke's Course in St Andrews, and that was a great fill-up for your career, because a couple of weeks prior to that you perhaps had quite a big disappointment when you were left out the England Home Internationals squad. Can you just reflect on that time and what you learned from those 2 or 3 weeks, both the disappointment and then the ultimate high of winning at St Andrews?
First and foremost, I had a really, really good summer. I was playing well, and I just kept the ball rolling, and obviously I was disappointed not to get in the home internationals team, especially after winning the stroke play at the English Amateur 2 or 3 weeks previous to the selection. But the team selected for the home internationals was very strong, and I just had to wish the team best of luck, and they did win the trophy, and eventually good things come to those who wait, and I won the Scottish amateur, so hopefully it's third time lucky for selection basis, so I can just pray and hope I'm on that 10-man team in 6 months or so.
Well, that's the thing, just to get back to Walker Cup duty, the fact that it's a 15-man initial squad, that'll get whittled down to 10 by April time, I think, and then it's out to Florida, hopefully, for the actual event. How much of a landmark would that be in your career to make that final 10-man squad?
I think it would be a massive achievement. I think I've had a pretty solid amateur career with obviously a win in a major event, and plenty of really, really good finishes, semi-finals at the British Amateur this year. So the experience is there, and I think that would top it all off for me in terms of my amateur career. And I think it's the Walker Cup is the leapfrog or springboard, if you like, into the professional ranks.
Now, you've had some experience of playing pro events. You were back down in South Africa at the end of last year just to make your debut in events in South Africa. You also tried out in the Euro Pro Tour to see how that went. How did you enjoy those experiences, and how did you measure your game up with the professionals you were playing against?
Obviously, it's anytime you compete against top level professional golfers, even at Euro Pro, whether it be Challenge Tour or even European Tour. I think as an amateur, it's all about learning, and it's only you can only keep learning every day. And I think the big thing nowadays is the scoring. You have to go low in pretty much all of the events on tour. For example, that Euro Pro qualifying was -20 for 3 rounds. It's just incredible scoring, and that's just an example of what it takes to win at that level.
Now, I have to touch on this, and forgive me for doing so, but I notice you're becoming a bit of a male model as well as an aspiring professional golfer with all these Adidas photo shoots. Can you talk us through that, Jake?
Again, it's just a good experience. Obviously, thankful for Neil Raymond at Adidas for giving me the opportunity to do that. And I must be doing something right for someone to give me a call to do a photo shoot. No, as I said, it was just a great experience, and I think it's only a sign of things to come. I think if and when I do turn professional, and hopefully I can stay with Adidas into when I turn pro.
Jake, listen, it's been great talking to you. I wish you all the success for 2021 and good luck when that final Walker Cup squad gets announced in April. The Walker Cup's taking place on May 8 and 9 in Seminole in Florida. At the moment there are 10 Englishmen named in the provisional squad, Jake being one of them, and we hope to get as many as possible in Stuart's final squad. Jake, thanks for joining us in the podcast.
Thank you very much, guys.
Now it's time to look at what's been making the news in and around England golf in the last few weeks. The England men's and men's A squads have been named for 2021, with 20 players selected to represent their country in the coming season. 7 players retain their slot in the men's squad from last season. Amateur champion Joe Long, who along with Ben Schmidt, Ben Jones, Callum Farr, Jake Bolton and Matty Lamb have been included in the initial Walker Cup squad, have also been named by England selectors. Robin Williams, a winner in the professional ranks of the MENA Tour, also returns for another year. The 3 new faces in the squad are English amateur champion Jack Cope, his Gloucestershire teammate Haider Hussain, and Sam Bairstow, who's elevated from last year's A squad. Callum Barrow, runner-up to Cope in the English men's amateur, is in the A squad alongside other newcomers Jack Dyer and Ollie Huggins. Jack Brooks, Aaron Edwards-Hill, Harry Goddard, Joe Harvey, Max Martin, Charlie Strickland and Charlie Thornton are the other members of the A team. Joining us now is James Crampton, the Director of Championships at England Golf. James, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Now it's the off-season, the country's in lockdown, and it's been a fairly bleak start to 2021, but I just know that you can bring a little ray of sunshine into all of our lives by looking ahead to what we hope is a full championship season, COVID permitting, of course. Now, clearly the flagship events are on the schedule as usual. A joint English men's, women's amateur, England hosting the European Ladies Amateur Championship and the Brabazon Trophy as well, to name just a few. But the championship programme, James, is not just about these elite scratch golfers. There's plenty for club golfers too.
Absolutely. It is, Ian. I think one of the perceptions that some people potentially have around England golf is that we do only run championships for the elite player. And in actual fact, we do run more events in our season for the handicap golfer than we do for the elite players. So we're really excited about those events. We're looking at progressing those and developing those as we go through the year. Our English Golf Captains opens on the 1st of February, which is a programme that we have within England Golf for all those people who have been captains of their golf clubs. We run 8 tournaments for those. Some really good venues next through 21. Places like Wilmslow, Saunton, one of my favourite courses, Berkhamsted, Panel, Lindrick, just to name a few. So some really exciting venues that we have for the golf captains. We also host some senior series events for the over 50-year-old handicap golfers, both men and women, over those same venues. And they again open in February. So those events we're particularly excited about. And then obviously, as you say, we run other events such as the Ping better ball competitions and the women's medals, which have opened for entries as we speak. So entries are starting to come in for those for the regional finals that we'll hopefully play later on in the season.
Now, you mentioned those Ping events. There's a new Ping event on the calendar this year, which continues our association with them. Can you just talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, of course. We've had a really good relationship with Ping over the years, where we've ran a women's better ball competition, which has primarily been into 2 flights. This year we've discussed with Ping how to develop that event, and what we're excited to announce now is that we're going to run a mixed better ball competition alongside the women's better ball event, the finals of which will be played in September up in Thonic Park, which is Gainsborough's Ping headquarters. So we're going to be promoting golf clubs to play their better ball competitions, both women and their mixed events, and to submit their winners to us, and hopefully they will have their winners progress to the final in September.
Sounds good. Now, obviously, as well, there's an English Open for golfers with a disability that's taking place at Whittlebury Park in June. That was one of the events that sadly had to be cancelled in 2020. But that's an event that's been growing in popularity over the last couple of years, and it's now a fairly prestigious event on that rota.
It is absolutely considered one of our championship events. That, like you say, is being hosted at Whittlebury Park in Northamptonshire in June. And we're pushing hard on our opportunities for our disabled golfers, and this is a really exciting concept, and we're pushing hard to generate maximum entries for that. So this is the second year that championship has been played, and we're really excited to be moving that in a positive direction.
And England's George Groves won the event in 2019, and he's the world number 1, as I understand it. So plenty hopes for a home win.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'd imagine he will start as pretty hot favourite. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how that event progresses.
Now, we mentioned earlier that England Golf is not just about the elite championship events, but these elite events do play a key part in the championship calendar. Once again this year we're going to be running a joint amateur championship for men and women following the success of the event last July-August at Woodall Spa. This year it's taking place at Moortown and Headingley up in Yorkshire. Can you just explain the thinking, James, behind running this joint event?
Well, obviously COVID in 2020 caused us a situation whereby we had to review our schedule. Obviously that time frame become quite short in terms of trying to get as many of our championships played as possible. And obviously, unfortunately, we had to cancel a number of those. But one of the opportunities that did arise for us was the ability to play the men's and women's amateur championship at the same time. And fortunately, we had Woodall Spa as the venue in 2020, which allowed us to do that. So due to that real positivity and success of joining the two championships together, we're certainly looking at progressing that and developing that for future years. And we're pleased that we're able to do that for 2021 at Moortown and Headingley Golf Clubs. And hopefully we'll continue that into 2022 and beyond. So certainly for the Women's Championship, we've increased the number of entries that are going to be available for that. So we reduced some of the men's entries to allow that to take place. So we'll still have a field of 288 players, but that'll be mixed between the men and the women. And they will then play for their own championships, both of which will finish with a 36-hole final on the last day.
And it's going to be quite a fortnight for golf in Yorkshire, isn't it? Because prior to that, the week before, the European Ladies Amateur Championship is going to be held at Alwoodley, which in itself is an extremely prestigious event and one that England Golf will be helping to organise and put on.
Absolutely, yeah. We have a very good relationship with the European Golf Association. We run a number of championships for them over the years, and the last event we actually held for them was the 2019 European Ladies Amateur, which Alice Hewson won down at Parkstone. So we're delighted that we're running the European Ladies again this year at Alwoodley. Alwood is a fantastic supporter of our England Golf Championships, and it's the week before the English Amateur. So we're really excited in the fact that we're going to be able to promote women's elite golf during that 2-week period. So the European Ladies Amateur is going to be one of our highlights of our season. It is recognised as one of the top 3 championships in the world for the ladies. So really excited to hopefully have the best players in the world coming over and playing at Alwoodley.
And earlier in the year, the Brabazon, again, one of the flagship events on the England golf calendar, is going to take place at Ganton, another fantastic golf course. David Rivetto, the Frenchman, won last year. A memorable picture, I'm sure you'll remember, James, of him with the trophy in the boot of his car, having started the week sleeping in his car because he didn't have any digs. But the Brabazon is always is a fantastic championship and really captures the imagination, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's got a real long history with some fabulous winners of that trophy. So again, we're always excited to host the Brabazon. Ganton, again, as you've just said, is a fantastic golf course. I know they're making a couple of small tweaks to it, which will just make it even better to what it is. So we're very excited. This year will also be for the first time where we're going to host 3 qualifying rounds for the Brabazon as well. So to give all our players the maximum opportunity of taking part in this prestigious event, we're going to host a Northern, Southern and a Midland qualifying round the week before, where a number of players will have the opportunity to qualify for the main event, like you say, at Ganton in May.
Sounds terrific. Now, there's also a new event on the calendar for this year, and it's a mixed junior event at Farnham Golf Club down in Surrey. 1 winner, 1 trophy. That's going to be keenly competitive, isn't it? All the under-18s pitting their wits against each other.
It is. It's going to be, again, a very exciting event. Something, again, that we're very keen on, sort of producing the opportunity for players to compete alongside each other and show golf to be a sport where you're able to do that. So Farnham have agreed to host the event, which is great. It's 132 players, 66 boys, 66 girls. They're going to play off their own tees or variation of their own tees, and they're going to play directly against each other. So it's a very exciting concept. I don't think it's been done by a national governing body before. So it's fairly groundbreaking. And I know Lottie Woad is very keen. She's a member of Farnham Golf Club, so I think she's very keen and has already posted a few comments on social media about her excitement in playing the event and taking on the boys around her own golf course.
Excellent. Now, 2020 was a difficult year for everyone in the golfing world. England Golf were able to run a number of events later in the season with all the COVID protocols in place. We all hope that come spring and summer we're going to be in a better place, but I suppose it goes without saying that if required, then the COVID protocols that were in place for 2020 will once again be in place for 2021 to ensure safety of competitors, staff, and potentially any visitors that are allowed on the course?
Yeah, of course. We're obviously at this moment in time planning for getting back to some kind of normality, but we have got some good protocols and policies that we implemented in 2020 to allow us to run our championships. We did temperature testing. We restricted the time players were allowed on site. Everything was done contactless. And obviously social distancing procedures were all put in place.
The social media was good as well, James.
Well, social media was very good, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously we've got those things that we did last year, and if we need to implement some of those to allow us to run our championships in a safe manner, then obviously we'll do that. But fingers crossed at this moment in time, any restrictions or any things that we need to implement are going to be fairly minimal, and hopefully the vaccine is going to do the trick to get everybody back, at least playing golf as well as getting back to some kind of normality.
Yeah, I'm sure we all echo that. James, thank you for the moment. And for details on the championship programme for 2021, then head to the England Golf website. Check out our Twitter, Instagram and Facebook accounts for the latest news and updates. Many of these events open for applications on February 1. So that's it for another England Golf podcast. My thanks to Jeremy Tomlinson, Rebecca Hembrough, Annabell Fuller, Jake Bolton and James Crampton for taking the time to talk all things golf. As always, follow us on social media and head to the website for all the latest on the amateur scene in England, and come back and join us in February for the next edition of the podcast. Until then, stay safe. Bye for now.